Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Deep Six Podcast, coming to you from somewhere just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Of course, as always, I'm your host, Steven Spivak, joined today once again by Dan. Dan, hello.
Hello.
You're exciting. And then Matt. Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm sick, but I'm good. Anyway.
Thanks.
Here we are, episode, I don't know anymore, 15. I think it's 15 of the Deep Six Podcast.
The host doesn't know how many episodes he's done. What a great
You
host.
were the one who last time told us that we needed to stop counting the episodes.
Lack of professionalism, that's all.
You're right, I do.
Why? Why should we stop counting the episodes?
I don't know. I just don't feel like every time we start an episode should we go, it's episode 2. Like,
why not?
I don't know. I just don't think we should.
I think that's an
Other
important
podcasts
factor.
don't do that.
Yes, they do. A lot of podcasts do that. Anyway.
Welcome to episode 3859 of the Deep Six Podcast.
I don't think there's been any podcasts to make it that far, Dan.
There are a lot of podcasts that have had
3,000 episodes?
There are podcasts I know that do 2 episodes a week and have been going for 4 or 5 years. So
that doesn't make 3,000
I'm not
episodes.
saying that makes 3,000. I'm just saying that's a lot of episodes.
Anyway.
It was just a joke. Why you got to take everything so literally?
Anyway. Matt, it's nice to have you back in person
thanks.
for the podcast.
No, it's not. Don't lie. I mean, hi, Matt.
It's real great.
It's real great to know that Dan doesn't give a shit. Dan is just no fucks given podcast attitude.
Well, somebody has to have it.
Yeah. I'm the heel of the episodes.
Dan's got to get out of here and go to Flyers practice when he's done.
For those of you at home who can't see Dan, he is
Everybody.
decked out in Flyers
For
gear.
those of you at home. So everybody. Everybody not name Matt, Dan, and Steve.
You want to get punched today?
No.
I feel like you're cruising.
Cruising?
Like Al Pacino?
Am I hurting?
What? What?
You said I'm cruising. Cruising for what?
You know what you're
Like Al
cruising
Pacino.
What? I'm confused.
Moving on.
It's a great movie.
We're missing this amazing video.
Have either of you guys done anything over the last 2 weeks that are worth noting in the podcast this time around?
Nope.
I feel like it hasn't even been 2 weeks.
Well, it hasn't, but we're recording this on January 5th to be put out on the 13th. Just because of me leaving town.
Steven's abandoning us. Oh, thank God.
I'm not abandoning you.
Thank God he's leaving for 10 days. Thank God.
I'm not abandoning you. I don't know what that means.
Thank God. I mean, I'm going to miss you, Steve.
Anyway,
No, I won't.
so let's get to the topic of today's show. We are at the start of WrestleMania season. Yeah, we are. We're at the Royal Rumble build. We are at the start of the road to WrestleMania.
Royal Rumble is...
I think when your WrestleMania storylines start taking shape, you're at the start of WrestleMania season.
Have they, though?
Where we're at.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. If you say
Definitely.
So. If you say so. I usually like to say it's Royal Rumble, but okay.
No, how? Why would the Royal Rumble be the exact start?
Because that's when things start.
Well, you've got Bayley and Charlotte being built already.
Not for Mania.
Yes,
it's not being
for
built
Mania.
for Mania. Okay.
Yes.
You can say that you think it's going to be built for Mania, but that doesn't mean that it's
I don't think
already
so.
been built
I think
on
they're
TV
more
for Mania.
I think they're more building towards Bayley and Sasha as a heel.
I don't know about that.
I think you're wrong.
Do I think Bayley and Charlotte will happen at WrestleMania? Yes. I think they're already building towards that? Only because they're in a feud. I don't think AJ Cena is going to be at WrestleMania.
No, because that's happening at the Rumble.
Exactly. So that's not being built for WrestleMania. So how can you say that things are already being built for WrestleMania?
Because they clearly are. You've got
things are being
Goldberg and
built
Brock
for-
Lesnar.
Things are currently being built for the Rumble.
You've got Goldberg and Brock Lesnar that's being built for WrestleMania.
Why do you think it is that both things can't be happening at the same time?
I'm not saying they can't be, but
they're clearly going to do
what I'm
most
saying
likely
is, like,
Cena and AJ
when you're in this
at
course of the
WrestleMania.
year,
No,
you
they're
have
not.
to plan. You have to plan for the short term, which is this month's show, and then you have to plan for the long term, which is WrestleMania.
Undertaker wins the Royal Rumble. John Cena beats AJ Styles at Elimination Chamber or whatever pay-per-view SmackDown has in February, and then it's title versus career.
And the greater majority of people still don't give a shit. So
I give a shit. I know a lot of people that give a shit.
no, I mean I think you're overrating how many people care about
You can't send Undertaker out in a match that's not that big.
You can't because he's had several years of matches that aren't that big.
But I'm saying like it's his last match ever.
That should have happened several years ago.
That's been said since what?
I'm not
WrestleMania 22?
I'm not saying it shouldn't have been his last. It shouldn't have happened already. I'm saying though that this is it. This is the definitive. He's done.
They've been saying that for 10 years.
Why
They
does that have to be John Cena?
I'm not saying it has to be John Cena. I'm saying it has to be a high profile match.
Okay.
If anything, it should
And
be
I think,
Bray Wyatt.
And I think it's going to
I don't know why that has to involve the title.
I just think it's going to. I think Cena's going to get the 16th title reign, and then Taker's going to win the Royal Rumble, and it's just going to be, okay, well, I want to try and win the belt one more time, and Cena being like, all right, well, put your career on the line.
I just don't get the logic of why it has to involve the title, and you're not the only person saying it does.
I just think it will.
I just don't understand the logic from a whole standpoint of why it does.
I think
there's no reason for that to need the title.
How does Undertaker get in the Royal Rumble and not win it?
It's the same logic of, I'm watching WrestleMania 17 now, and it's headlined by Rock and Austin. Now, 2 years from now at WrestleMania 19, they do Rock and Austin again. It's going to be Austin's last match, and nobody knows it till the day of.
But that's the thing. Nobody knows it's going to be Austin's last
Austin knows that, and probably Vince knows that. But
well, didn't he?
They decided that they
just
didn't
walked away from the company.
They decided that they didn't need the title for that match because the match itself was so big as a spectacle that they don't need the title for it.
They didn't know that was going to be his last match because he just straight up walked away.
Why
are
you getting caught up on a point that's so irrelevant?
I'm not. I'm just explaining why I think it's going to happen.
The point of the matter still is that when you have a match that's so big, you don't need the title to elevate.
I'm not
match.
saying you do. I just think that the title will be involved because I think you can't put Undertaker in the Royal Rumble without him winning the Royal Rumble.
Why even put him in the Royal Rumble to begin with?
Why is Undertaker going to be in the Royal Rumble, as I was about to say?
He's going to announce that he's in the Royal Rumble on Monday.
That makes no sense.
I don't know why. I'm just saying this is what's probably going to happen. I don't book it. I don't make the matches. I'm just saying
you don't know what's going to happen. That's what I'm saying. I have no reason to speculate The Undertaker will announce that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble, especially on Raw.
Okay. He's only going to be on Raw for ratings because they're going against the college football championship.
That's the whole part of the speculation that made no sense to me was that the Undertaker's whole gimmick has been, I'm always going to be the blue brand. And all of a sudden he's showing up on Raw to announce that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Right before Survivor Series, which makes no sense why he's going to be on Raw.
But again, it's done for ratings.
On Instagram and Twitter and everything else the months before he came back too, that he's always going to be Team Blue. Then all of a sudden, randomly, he's going to show up on Raw to announce he's in the Royal Rumble.
The dead man has an Instagram?
I think it's...
His wife does.
Oh, okay.
I think it's stupid too. But again, they're going against the college football playoff, which kills in ratings. They're going to try and do whatever they can to get people to watch Raw this Monday.
I think that probably has very little to do with it.
I think it has a lot more to do with it than you think it does.
I think Shawn Michaels
they're going to get killed in the ratings
Raw.
regardless of whether the game is being played or not, because you're not drawing from the same audience.
But you'll get more
football.
you'll get more people to tune in to watch for Taker.
It's more reactionary, I think, to SmackDown beating them in the ratings than it is to college football beating them in the ratings.
Every time there's something big going against them or something like that, they always do something to try to pull in ratings. Goldberg's appearances were done for going against things like when they had No Mercy kick off with the title match. They did that because they were worried people were going to be watching the presidential debate and not watching that.
I think it was also a way for.
Why else do you end that show with Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton?
I think it was also a ploy to
I don't know. I think that we're really overscoring how much WWE assumes that they're sharing audiences with other things.
It's not a matter of sharing audiences.
I think a major part of having announced Undertaker and Shawn Michaels for this upcoming episode of Monday Night Raw also goes to the fight that NBC was having with getting their networks renewed for whatever cable company it was that wanted to drop them. But that's neither here nor there. That's not even the topic of today's show.
Anything anyway, because SmackDown's on USA too.
It's for ratings. I'm telling you right now.
It has nothing to do with college football, though. I think it has more to do with SmackDown beating Raw, because Undertaker could appear on the brand he always appears on, which is SmackDown.
I think
it's still
both.
Announce the same thing.
I think it's clearly both.
Anyway,
WWE's always
bringing up the topic
WWE has always tried to take ratings away from football, whether it's college or professional.
That doesn't matter. That's not the topic of the show, so let's move on.
Okay.
You got caught on a sidebar that doesn't matter, so let's continue.
Why doesn't it matter? It's a conversation.
Because it's not the topic of today's show, that's why it doesn't matter.
So?
Anyway, the topic of today's show, we tried to roll into it by talking about the start of the road to WrestleMania, but we're going to give our speculations on the Hall of Fame, and and go from there. Talk about names who are in the Hall of Fame that we don't agree with and things of that nature. So I'm going to start to Matt with a name that's not in the Hall of Fame that you would like to see in the Hall of Fame, simply because Dan doesn't really have any.
I do have some. That's bullshit.
You had the most obvious name, so I'll save the most obvious name for you.
I have newer guys that I think should be in, not necessarily guys that wrestled in like the 70s or 80s or even before that. It's just guys I grew up watching that I think should be in the Hall of Fame.
So, Matt, who's your first name that you would like to see inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I mean, I came up with my list off the top of my head, so obviously the first name on my list was Owen Hart. Because that was the first name that came up off the top of everybody's head.
I think that's the first name on everybody's list. And I know when I was with Defiant Giant, we tried to do... I think we did this exact same show. I don't think it ever made it to air, but we did also a show of guys who never won the championship. He was also on that list. And I think Owen... It's a really touchy subject. Clearly you have to respect his family's wishes and his widow's wishes, because that comes with being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. It's not a matter of just because a guy deserves to be in there, we're going to put him in there. It has to be cleared with everyone, which is reasons why guys like Macho Man Randy Savage and Bruno Sammartino took forever to get in there. But back to you and your reasons for thinking that Owen should be in there. What is your defining reason for thinking that he deserves to be in there?
Oh, I mean, all the obvious reasons.
Well, I mean the obvious, but for those listening who may not follow wrestling, or
general ability, longevity with the company. I mean,
how much he influenced so many other wrestlers that wrestled today or have wrestled in the last 15 years.
I mean, he was so influenced by Japan and Mexico that, I don't know. Like, you see the big running theme when you look at the Cruiserweight show now is everybody's favorite wrestler was Eddie Guerrero. And it can just as easily be my favorite wrestler was Owen Hart, because they all wrestle like Owen Hart.
You ever heard the story about how he stood up for The Rock? The Rock, cut a heel promo. It was at a house show or something, and basically Owen went to bat for him and went up to Vince and everybody. It was this is what you should be running with The Rock, and that was right around the time they turned him heel and stuff, and essentially he was very influential in his heel turn. And I think, and I don't know if this has ever been confirmed, but I think that's one of the reasons The Rock uses the sharpshooter to honor Owen, because it was a move that Owen also did, like Brett. So I don't know. I've heard that story numerous places. So
I don't know how much I
but
want to follow that.
Owen went to bat for The Rock and basically helped kind of turn his career around a little bit, because that's when The Rock was not getting over as that face when he first came in, and Owen went to bat for him being a heel and stuff. So that's it's stuff he did behind the scenes too.
That's purely speculation, though. I don't think that's ever been truly spoken about by The Rock.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
And I don't know that I've never heard that story. Have you ever heard that story, Matt?
No, I haven't. But that doesn't mean it's not true.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying right now it's kind of hearsay. But yeah, I definitely think Owen belongs in there. And I think I don't want to call his widow selfish. I don't think that's what it is. But I think she makes a point of not wanting to make a profit off of her dead husband.
I don't think there's really any profit being made off of it. They don't charge anything.
But there would be merchandise made to commemorate his induction and things of that nature.
They don't have to do that. If part of her condition is we don't make a T-shirt for it.
But I think it's also a matter of not wanting to advertise her dead husband as well, which you would have to advertise him if you're going to induct him into the Hall of Fame.
I guess. I don't.
I mean,
really...
you'd have to run commercials and video packages and things of that nature saying, 2017 Hall of Fame, Owen Hart.
She already didn't support the DVD that they made for him within the last couple years. So I can't imagine she'd support anything else.
Yeah, I can't imagine she doesn't support a DVD talking to the legacy of Owen Hart that she's not going to support him being put into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, some people just don't get it. You would think that somebody who is in the family would understand, but they don't. Because clearly Brett understands.
I think
Brett has been the biggest proponent of saying that he should be in the Hall of Fame.
As far out there as Brett is anymore, I think Brett still understands that what happened was truly an accident. And I still think
distance from the accident creates more understanding of what happened leading to it and why it happened.
True.
But
I still think that there's a lot of conspiracy thoughts that go into the mind of Owen Hart's widow and possibly parts of the family that lead them to believe it was a little bit more than an accident, but I don't buy into that crazy logic
because that's
whatsoever.
something that you want to happen on a live pay-per-view.
See, you kind of have to.
I think it also. Well, sorry, Dan, not to cut you off, but real quick, I think it also harkens to the fact that they continued the event after a man died in the middle of the ring, and I don't think that sits too well with her.
I don't think if you asked any wrestler, they would tell you that they want the show to be stopped.
No, I'm a firm believer the show must go on, especially when you don't want to shut down an entire arena and allow people to believe that Owen Hart just died in the middle of the ring.
Well, yeah, for one, that creates panic.
Wasn't it also wasn't and like I know that they know he was probably dead, by the time like the doctors got to him in the ring and everything, but I'm sure there was still kind of that.
It's different sources.
I think it was still
say that he wasn't dead there.
That's what I'm saying.
He died later, but
I mean, I know that there's been wrestlers that said, like if you saw, or like people at ringside, like Jerry Lawler, I think is the one main guy who said basically if you looked at him, like all the color left his body, and you could essentially tell he was not doing well. But I guess there was also that sense of, all right, if we take him to the hospital, maybe he can be revived and things like that. So like maybe it wasn't. I'm not going to bat here for WWE in the sense of like, yeah, they should have kept the show going, but there could also have been that sense of like, all right, maybe he'll be okay, maybe he'll come, he'll be revived and things will be okay. So
I don't even think you need to go down that road though, because I think it was the right thing to do, and any wrestler would tell you to do it anyway. Especially
in a matter of a situation where there's so much uncertainty about what's actually happening, and you're running at that time one of the hottest businesses in the world.
In 97?
Yeah.
They were not hot.
No,
it wasn't 97. It was 99.
Well, they were in the thick of it with WCW at the time.
Yeah.
So you have a battling brand.
I still wouldn't call them one of the hottest companies in the world.
Were they publicly traded at that time?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Essentially, it comes down to you got to toe the line with his widow, and if you have Brett saying whatever and everything else, but unless Martha Hart gives them the go ahead, I think it's never going to happen, and I don't think she's ever going to give them the go ahead. And as morbid as it sounds, maybe decades down the line, where like because she's not that old as far as I know, so like it's not like she's like on death's door. I'm not trying to say that, but I'm saying like maybe years and years, decades later after she's passed away, and maybe his son or somebody or says I'm just saying like that might be the only way he ever really has a shot, because I don't think Martha's ever going to give him the okay, and I don't think they're ever going to do it without her okay.
So then let's
just beating a dead horse on his name now.
Yeah, let's close out the topic of Owen Hart with. Let me simply just ask both of you, do either of you think he'll ever make it in?
No.
I can't. Like I said, unless Martha has a change of heart.
Yeah, unless them and Brett together just decide to go rogue and just do it.
Or we see the unfortunate passing of his wife.
And like I said, she's not young, so it's not like she's...
Which at that point, I would think that... Did they have kids?
I don't know. Probably.
I think so, probably.
I think we might eventually see it, but I don't know what.
If it ever does happen, I think we're still a ways away from it. Simply for the fact that I think it's just going to take a lot of convincing or a lot of kind of getting on her good side if they really want to do it.
Yeah, but moving on, Dan, why don't I come to you now with a name, since you don't seem to really have that many that you could pull from.
I have a good one. The British Bulldog.
Okay. Yeah, I could get behind that.
Davey Boy Smith. I mean, he's had some of the best matches ever. If you think back to SummerSlam in the UK and whatever else, he was very influential, I think. And, he was part of the Hart Foundation. He had the British Bulldogs tag team. There's just so much. And I feel like it's kind of not so much a travesty, but like I'm honestly shocked that he's one of those guys that has never made it in. Even it's just like maybe the Hart Foundation will get in at some point and like he'll be a part of that, but like just by himself, I don't know. It's kind of surprising to know he's not in.
As far as I know, there's no bad blood between the family of Davey Boy Smith and
I just think they haven't
the
gotten around
WWE.
to it, personally. I would think there's a better shot of him getting in as part of a tag team with Dynamite.
Yeah,
rather than
but
as
you also
himself,
have to look at things like his SummerSlam win in '92 against Brett and how hot he was. And I know that was a hometown thing, but he was so hot at that time. And
wasn't he also kind of like, and pardon me if I'm not too up on it, because obviously he was big when I was either not born or very young, so I wasn't watching wrestling at the time. Wasn't he very influential for like WWE in the UK as well? I know that sounds like something that's
well, of course he was
a given, but I'm saying like didn't he really kind of help bridge that gap of
course he was.
to the UK audience? Well, obviously I'm saying I get that, but I'm saying like wasn't he one of the main catalysts that like kind of really helped them not so much take off in the UK, but like gain a lot more popularity and stuff over there? And,
I mean, when you push a guy that's billed from the UK, you're clearly gonna market to that audience. I mean, there's no way around that. So of course he was very influential to building a relationship or a fan base for the WWE in the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. Matt, what are your thoughts on Davey Boy Smith?
I guess I'll say this: aside from the SummerSlam match, if you can name me one defining moment of his career, aside from that, then I'll agree with you. But it's hard to name one defining solo moment of his career. Didn't he almost
win a Royal Rumble, but then, what was it? Michaels wasn't actually eliminated and he threw him out.
But that's, I know that's not really a defining moment. He lost.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I know that's like one of the moments that people go back to, like, in his career.
He's a guy whose career was defined.
Yeah, I can't disagree
by being
with you.
as part of a stable and a tag team.
I can't disagree with you.
So that's why I
that.
think he has a much better shot of being in as part of a tag team or a stable. Now, I think your answer will come during the UK tournament, because if they're going to announce him as a Hall of Fame inductee, they're going to do it at the UK tournament.
That's a good point, honestly. I didn't even think of that.
You know what? That might also be a stepping stone to getting him in there, just because
they'll announce it there.
They're going to want to do something big and high profile to affect the main WWE universe with that program and with that tournament. Because we're also seeing, like we said before we went on air, this tournament is somewhat of a stepping stone to get a produced WWE television product out of the UK. So, whatever they can do to build that bridge to get the UK audience behind them.
So if it's going to be this year, you'll know relatively quickly. But I think that being the guy that he is, he's more defined by his tag team and stable work than he is by what he's done as a solo act. So I
can't disagree with you. I really can't. But yeah, we'll move on to a next name then. I guess I'll take a shot at this. My first name was Owen Hart, which it always is, of course. Davey Boy was also on my list, but I think Miss Elizabeth is one that a lot of people tend to forget about, but I definitely think that she deserves to be in there, especially if you can put Randy Savage in there. How can you not put Miss Elizabeth in
I didn't forget about her. I thought about her.
No, but I think the main names when you think of who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, you think of in-ring talent or title runs or this, that, or the other thing. I didn't think of
just in-ring talent because I have non-in-ring talent on my list.
I'm not talking about you. But yeah, to Miss Elizabeth.
She was a valet. She wasn't a worker, and she never cut a promo. So tell me why she should be in the Hall of Fame.
Because she was the first lady of wrestling.
Because she stood around and looked good?
No, she was the main focus of heavy storyline.
No, stop.
Why?
Because she has no relevance.
I don't know how I feel about it, but I don't know, I'm kind of on the mend about it, honestly.
Why are you on the mend about it?
I don't know. I just
speak your mind.
I mean, I kind of agree with Matt. Like, what was she outside of just a valet? And like I know there were a lot of storylines and stuff centered around her, but like she was just there as like a valet. She wasn't like I don't really consider her to be
She was there
like
because of who she was dating and who she was married.
I don't
to.
consider her to like be on a top list of managers all time or anything. She didn't really do anything that like I don't know. She was just kind of there. It's I don't know.
Be like putting the garnish in the Food Hall of Fame.
I feel like to start your list, that's a pretty weak contribution.
I feel like Miss Elizabeth was a defining character of her generation in the sport.
Defining how?
And I'm not talking
defining how.
That defines the era in terms of how the 80s were an era where women had no significance in wrestling.
I wouldn't put it that way.
What did and this is a legitimate question, what did Miss Elizabeth define?
Well, she built to the feud of Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan.
But
she
like,
was also...
she didn't define it. Like that feud was probably going to happen either way.
Oh, I don't
like,
want your woman, brother. She's in the Hall of Fame for being a plot
see
device.
That look in your eye.
No, that doesn't work for me. Sorry, Steve.
She was a great character, but like I don't know how I feel about her like necessarily getting in the Hall of Fame. And plus her death and everything kind of surrounding that, I think is something that kind of
think that somebody's death should define whether they go in the Hall of Fame or not.
Well, I think that kind of detracts from the fact that like considering her to be in, like I don't think WWE would want that kind of bad publicity and stuff. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
they've inducted sketchier people.
I'm not saying they haven't.
But that aside, her wrestling significance isn't high enough to be in the Hall of Fame.
If you say
Now,
she will always be known as just Macho Man's wife. Like she
now,
never wrestled. She didn't do anything.
Do I think she gets in the Hall of Fame? Probably. But do I think she should be? No.
All right, then, Matt, so let's move on to your next name. Searching through the phone.
No, my memo keeps closing every time I close the phone. Eric Bischoff.
Ooh. Okay.
I think it's. I think it's still a little early for that.
Yeah, I think that might be a little
early. In what way? He's completely left the wrestling business. He's on good terms
with
the company.
Yeah, I was
and
just
he's
gonna
extensively.
I guess I'm just thinking. I don't know.
He's very significant to the wrestling business as a whole.
I guess my point of contention is there are people I think that deserve to get in before he does, but I understand that that's never stopped them before.
That are less significant than he is.
That's opinion. I think he's significant to the wrestling business. Yes. Do I think that the people that have gotten that deserve to get in before him are less significant? That's completely up for debate.
Well,
because there's I mean, I don't know.
As much as I think he deserves to be in there, in the same breath, I feel like there's a lot that goes against him.
Such as
pretty much burying WCW once he was pretty much in control of it.
That's not true.
He tried to buy the company before Ted Turner sold it to Vince. He wanted to keep the company going.
For most of the last 2 years of the company, he wasn't even there.
Yeah, but it wasn't just the last 2 years of the company that were the problem.
And honestly,
From the time he took over till about 99 when they started to drop off and they let him move, he was running the company in a pretty good direction.
I don't think anybody blames Eric Bischoff for the company.
I don't blame him directly.
I think it's more of a blame of the guys that were in the wrestlers in the company that were politicking their way around as opposed to that. And obviously Russo and dumb bookers and bullshit and all that jazzy stuff. But, I don't think anybody blames Bischoff for the reason WCW went under. I think he deserves to get in. I do think he's very influential. A lot of things that he did with WCW and just in wrestling in general. And, he was able to come in and still have a great WWE run as the commissioner or general manager, whatever he was. So, I think he deserves to get in eventually. I don't know. I just feel like there are people that deserve to get in over him. But I think eventually, he's one of those guys that does deserve to be in and probably will eventually get in at some point. But I think, knowing that he probably still has a lot of time left on Earth, they'll probably hold off on that a little bit.
I think that his interest in doing it will run out before his life runs out.
Probably.
So you have to strike while the iron is hot.
And I agree with that too.
Yeah, I think right now when he's interested in having a relationship with the WWE,
that's
is
when
the
you do
best
it.
time to go for it.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree that now is a good time to do it. I just don't know if it'll happen anytime soon. I think there's other people that they want to, and I think that you've noticed like they're more intrigued by getting these guys that they've been able to take severed ties and put back together and get them in, as opposed to.
Are there still many of those out there though?
Not a whole lot.
I don't know.
I mean, there's
honestly.
not a whole lot of names that I
really
can
know,
think
honestly.
of that have had bad
I think-
blood between them and the WWE
I will
that
say-
have not been put in there already.
I will say something I think that will be in Bischoff's favor is we've seen a lot of it in the last few years with Sting and probably Goldberg relatively soon, if not this year. You're getting a lot more of the guys that were main WCW guys that are going to get their recognition now, even though that they really never had. I mean, Bischoff did have a WWE career, don't get me wrong, but I think guys that made their names in WCW and were more known for WCW, like Sting had 2 matches in a WWE ring and is in the Hall of Fame. Goldberg had like a year and change in WWE.
We know
and
from a lot of the guys they've inducted already that they don't consider it just to be the WWE Hall of Fame. They consider it to be their version of the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like with Sting and now Goldberg and stuff, in recent years, you're seeing them go more towards the direction of, all right, these guys had big WCW careers. They should be involved in it too. So I think that is something.
I know I don't want to live in a world where Goldberg gets in the Hall of Fame before Eric Bischoff does.
Well,
in terms of
who
deserves to be in,
you're gonna have to, buddy, because that's probably coming.
Okay, well let's talk about Goldberg for a minute then. Personally, I think Goldberg deserves to be in there because just the way that he captivated audiences for so long.
He was red hot in WCW for a long time,
and I think a lot of the Hall of Fame goes based off your popularity with the audience.
You're mentioning a lot of the reasons why I like him, but not reasons why he should be in a Hall of Fame.
I'm not disagreeing with you that
I think he's
one of those factors.
There's not a lot.
A lot of factors don't go in his favor. Does he have accolades? Yes.
I think he's one of those guys that gets in for the fact that he was a larger than life type of wrestler.
Had no longevity, couldn't cut a promo, couldn't work a match.
But how many other guys in the Hall of Fame are like that already?
Business has changed, though. I mean, he worked.
we were just
a lot of guys on the roster could do all those.
We were just talking about guys like the Bushwhackers who were in the Hall of Fame that like were pretty awful.
And I said
in all aspects
they should not be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like if you're saying that as a reason he shouldn't be in, and saying that like that's why he won't get in.
However, though, I think a major deciding factor of who gets in the Hall of Fame is either your accolades of the likes of Ric Flair being a 16-time world champion or things like that, or your popularity. I think a lot of it has to do with your popularity, especially with like we're talking about guys like the Bushwhackers, and we're trying to make the defense of Goldberg. These are guys who were simply just hot with the crowd for a decent period of time.
Right.
So I mean,
I
think there's two different aspects of being put into the Hall of Fame.
I don't even know if Goldberg's worth talking about, though, because we're all acknowledging that he's going to go in. So it's not even worth talking about even on this show, because we know he's going to go in.
But
I mean, his name was mentioned, and I figured
I am curious
who
else Stan has, though, now.
All right, so I guess I'm going next here.
Yeah, go ahead.
My next one was going to be Rick Rude.
You're probably looking at the same list I have up over here, don't you?
No, I'm not looking at that. I was actually just pulling up.
And I don't even have a list. I have a memo that I wrote.
I was
names that I came up with.
I have
a list in my head.
The only thing I pulled up for that was just like his accomplishments, just so I can kind of.
So then go ahead, Dan. Make the defense of Rick Rude and why he should be in the Hall of Fame.
He was able to be a star in both WWE and WCW.
I wouldn't so much call him a star in WCW, but.
He obviously was, held multiple championships in both companies. He was, I would say he's probably considered widely one of the, I mean, you guys could probably debate this, probably considered widely one of the best heels of all time. He had a look, he had the charisma, he was a great character. The crowds got behind him in a sense of like, the whole ravishing thing where women loved him and guys wanted to be him kind of thing, and I think he was he was always considered to be a decent wrestler too, as far as I know. I mean, I wasn't a big Rick Rude guy. I haven't like gone back and watched a whole ton of his career, but like as far as I know, he was considered to be a solid wrestler.
He was above average for the era.
Good character,
yeah, definitely.
So and I think he has the accolades, and he's got name value. I think he's got everything working in his favor.
And he's a multiple-time Intercontinental Champion?
I think he was more than once.
I think he was. Yeah, he definitely had to be more than once.
He was United States champion in WCW.
He also was in a 5-star War Games match.
5-star by who?
The Wrestling Observer, which
Dave Meltzer.
Yeah.
But
so
this
no
was
credibility.
this was 1992 though. I mean,
when I think of War Games matches, I don't think of Rick Rude.
He
Rude.
actually was Intercontinental Champion one time.
Really, only once. Is
But
that the only
also-
time he's been a champion in the WWE?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Really?
don't think he held any other titles.
He won a Slammy Award, but we don't count that.
I mean, he
But,
would
like,
be
he
on one
was-
of those lists of
he
best
was a-
workers to never be world champion.
Yeah,
he was
exactly.
WCW International World Heavyweight Champion, WCW United States Champion. He
Yeah.
won the NWA Tag Team Championships a few times. So, like, you know, and see, honestly, for a guy that held one title in WWE, he's pretty well known for, like, you know, for a guy that only ever held one belt. You know, like,
It's because his character work was bigger than what
that's
he did.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Like, for a guy that only held one championship and I don't know how many years he worked for the company, a decent amount of time, I would say. It's pretty important. It's pretty
I think he left in
lasting, memorable.
the early 90s.
It's a memorable thing if you only held one
the
title,
early
but you're
90s,
still
I
remembered.
think,
like
yeah.
that.
And then he went to be part of the Dangerous Alliance, I believe, or was that before he went to WWE? I can't remember the order on that.
I don't know. I just know that I
But-
started
He was
I
in
started
WC
watching full time in the mid to late 90s,
He was in,
and he was definitely gone by then.
He was a manager.
He came
by
in.
then.
He came
Yeah.
in. He came in '87, won the title in '89 or '90. I don't know. This is confusing. And then left to go to the Dangerous Alliance in '91, and then
Yeah.
I think he came back for like a managerial stuff and all that.
And then, of course, he had his great feud with the Ultimate Warrior, which was a pretty hot feud for the time.
I don't think any of us disagree on this one. He
So,
was on my
yeah.
list. He was
So,
the last
yeah.
name on my list, but he was on it.
The last name.
Yeah.
I just think like Matt said, just the character alone, he's more known for the character than he was for anything else, and I think he was a character that truly defined, you know, kind of that era he was in, and you know,
He should be.
He's
Yeah.
memorable, and like I said, for a guy that only won one championship in WWE, he's still well known as a guy, and he's thrown in all the video games a lot and everything, so he's clearly, you know, they clearly want his name out there and stuff. So I don't know. He
Got
might
a lot of
he might
action
win
figures,
He
too.
might be one of those guys that gets in the next few years. Honestly,
Honestly,
be
wouldn't be
opposed.
surprised if he got in there this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
opposed.
So then we'll move on. I guess I'll pick a name now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to put The Rock's name out there.
Why?
Because I think if you got a guy like Steve Austin in there, why shouldn't The Rock be in there yet?
I think it's only a matter of time.
Well, here's why I didn't put names like The Rock or like The Undertaker on there.
Because
for one,
you're putting out names
I
that
don't
you know
think-
for sure.
I
are
don't think
eventually
either
gonna
one
get
of
in
them
there.
have had their last match. For one,
no, definitely not.
and two, I think they're obvious names that we know are going in the Hall of Fame. So I
Yeah.
didn't think there was any point of bringing them up.
Yeah,
I
Rock's a given.
guess I'm thinking more of names that haven't been put in there yet.
But I think that's a name that we don't even have to bring up because we know that they're going in.
So let me ask you this.
They'll
then.
do a whole thing with The Rock where it's like he'll come in, he'll be billed for his last match, and also go into the Hall of Fame. At the
Well,
same
there
time,
was speculation in 2015 that The Rock would be put in the Hall of Fame, and The Rock came back and said that he doesn't want to consider himself retired.
Right. I don't think he's had his
So-
last match, so I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't see what else The Rock could come in and do.
Who knows? But
Dumb
I
shit.
don't think it's over yet. So,
There are so many things he could still come.
but
in.
regardless, I don't think this is worth talking about on this show.
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
Because
I'm
he's
sure.
going,
so
he's
I
going
guess
in no matter what.
You say that you're not sure what The Rock could come in and do, but I'm sure Rock AJ would sell a ton. Rock.
I don't know that I would.
if they were going to bring
Rock and AJ,
I would want to see it because I'm an AJ mark. But
I'm just saying, like those
I
are
don't
things
think
that
that'd be
people.
that great
That's
of a
things that
match.
people would flock to
AJ
see.
could get a great match out of a trash can.
I'm just saying.
Doesn't matter.
My point wasn't even that
put
they
over
would,
a broomstick.
My point wasn't even that they would do that. My point was Steven said he's not even sure what The Rock could do at this point. But I'm saying if they came out and said, all right, Rock and AJ are going to have a match at SummerSlam or a big pay-per-view, fans would be like, whoa, that's pretty cool. I want to see that. Even if it's not something you could think right now, it's something that they could still do at some point.
I don't know. I got kind of sour on.
I've been sour on The
The
Rock
Rock.
because I feel like he just shows up and it's like, all right, I want to do this. Like the whole WrestleMania thing this past year was
Like,
god-awful.
I got sour on The Rock when they did the whole Rock CM Punk thing. And that's not just because of me being a CM Punk mark.
Well,
it's just because I felt
partially,
like that was a lot of politicking.
We're a little off topic here.
No, I know, I agree.
I don't know if that was all The Rock though.
But I'm just saying in respect that if talking about The Rock coming back again, I don't feel like I said, Rock and AJ wouldn't excite me too much. I'd watch it, but I don't think I'd be like, oh yeah, this is something I've always wanted to see.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not something you would think of now, but like down the road, I'm sure it could be something that they would consider doing.
Oh.
And if The Rock wanted to come back, people would actually be interested.
In all
seeing it.
fairness, AJ's not your favorite worker.
I don't mind AJ.
And it's not.
Don't mind AJ.
No, I mean,
he's one of the best.
I'm
he's
saying,
one of the
like,
best workers of all
It's
time.
not
That's-
something
no,
that
I'm
you
not
think off
saying
the
that.
top of your head as a dream match. You're not like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to see The Rock versus AJ Styles. Nobody thinks about that. So I don't know that you should think, unless you're a big AJ Styles fan, oh, I really want to see AJ versus The Rock.
There's also
I'm a huge AJ fan.
There's also like the possibility that somewhere down the road they could always be like Rock and Undertaker. Like you don't know. They pull shit out of their asses all the time.
I don't think this really is relevant.
No, it's not.
What we're
Okay,
talking
so
about.
then let's move on. I'll send it back to you, Matt. We all have clearly come to terms with the fact that my list is put together differently than yours.
Well, we just know the Rock's getting it.
I'm
It's
going to
not
throw
a
out.
question. At this
I'm going to throw out 2 tag teams at once.
2 at once?
Yeah.
Are they relevant to each other?
No,
Tag teams are stables.
I'm just throwing out 2 because we're running on in time.
Yeah. Go
Tag
for
teams
it.
are stables.
Tag teams. I literally just said tag teams.
Okay. Okay.
Steiner Brothers and the Varsity Club.
All right. The Steiner Brothers is not going to happen.
Why?
This isn't the list of people that should
No,
happen
I
going in the
mean-
Hall of Fame. It's people that should be in the Hall of Fame.
Steiner Brothers, I agree with.
Not will happen, should happen.
Steiner Brothers, I agree with. I don't know necessarily if I agree with the Varsity Club, but I feel like that's more
think-
because I don't know if they have the name value or anything that really is.
Kevin Sullivan is one of the most influential people in the wrestling business in like the last 40 years. And,
True.
I'm not saying
And Mike
he's not.
Rotunda has been in some of the most influential angles in the wrestling business.
But I don't think
I don't
that they
know.
have
I don't know
that.
how WWE feels about Kevin Sullivan though.
I don't think they have that marketability
How many people?
to be put into the Hall of Fame.
Be honest with me,
Marketability has had nothing to do with a lot of the people that they put in the Hall of
Matt,
Fame.
be hon-
Recently, it has.
Matt. Be
Really?
honest with
Because
me.
Stan Hansen's a really marketable name.
Be honest with me, Matt. You go up
He's
to
a crossover athlete.
You go up to somebody and say, "Name me who was in the Varsity Club." You're probably not going to get a ton of people that are going to remember that right off the bat.
I don't see why that matters.
But I think that's kind of the point of what we're trying to say is why we don't think it'll happen.
Because I think that a lot
Because-
of who's going in the Hall of Fame, a lot of the people that are buying tickets know who these people are that are buying tickets to go to the Hall of Fame. A lot of people that are watching TV do not know who these people are.
I mean, I guess you can look at guys like Tatsumi Fujinami, who got put in there. Who
But I think that's also
next to nobody knew who that was.
I think that's also
People who go to WrestleMania, though, that have the money
Do.
that can go on that trip,
Yeah.
know who he is.
But guys like Fujinami and Hansen and stuff had careers outside of the United States that like WWE wants to try to use that to help.
Yeah, I think Fujinami, was
Fujinami
put
isn't
in
even
there
that
as a-
relevant in Japan at this
No,
point.
he's not.
So I don't think that really was doing anything for their marketing wing in Japan at all.
But I think if you look at some of the things they kind of did around that,
Not as much as like signing Nakamura has done for them,
Yeah,
exactly.
or signing Kenta has
But
done
I
for
think,
them.
but that happened right before they started doing all that. So who knows that wasn't kind of a way for them to kind of start.
I don't think so. I think that
getting
was
into the
more
Japanese market a
like
little bit more.
Ric Flair wanted them to do it, and he got in Triple H's ear.
That's
and was
also
like, you should
that's
do
also
that.
possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
All right, so-
I'm in agreement with the Steiner brothers. I don't know about the Varsity Club.
Are there any other major names that we haven't mentioned that we should get to before we get to who
Sure.
we think should be
We didn't
pulled out of the
mention-
Hall of Fame?
Pulled out, or we're going to talk about this before we get to pulled out.
We're going to talk about this before
Just
we
throw
get to
some
pulled
names
out.
out there. That
China,
like,
Okay, I can
think-
see that, but
I think
there's
it'll happen.
I think it's happening this year.
we mentioned this when we talked about it on Defiant Giant as well. It's one of those such unfortunate circumstances that I felt she should have been put in there before she passed away.
Should have,
But because of all the
because of what
questionable
happened,
things she
now
did outside of her
everybody's-
career,
because of what happened to her, now everybody's realizing what mistakes were made.
yeah.
And now
I think
everybody's
it's going to be
starting to-
I think it's going to be one of those situations that they can kind of form what her legacy was without any kind of outside interference.
To an extent.
That they can kind of mold her into what they want you to think she was. Not that she doesn't deserve to be in there. I completely agree that she does. But I'm saying that they can kind of put the things that she did that were questionable and whatnot outside of her wrestling career behind her.
Here's some food for
and
thought.
Paint her in a better light than they would have liked to have.
Because we wanted to try to go through this quickly. I'm in agreement with China. I'll just get that out there. Here's some food for thought, though. When does Vince McMahon get in?
When he's dead. He's already said it.
Yeah.
He's literally said it in interviews that he won't let it happen until he's dead.
I don't think he deserves to be in there until he's dead, to be honest.
Do you honestly think they're going to wait that long?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's what he wants.
That was just kind of food for thought because I'm thinking, he's going to get in at some point, but...
So any other names?
Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I agree with Paul Heyman.
That'll happen when he retires, though.
I don't think any of us need to argue that point.
Nah, that'll happen when he retires.
So let's talk to names that are in the Hall of Fame that we don't think even closely remotely deserve to be in there.
Do we want to keep this to just their wrestling careers, or do we want to include?
No, we can include anybody that's in the Hall of Fame for any reason whatsoever.
Okay.
Any celebrity that isn't Mr. T, Muhammad Ali, or Cyndi Lauper.
Who else is in there? I know
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold
Snoop,
Schwarzenegger. Snoop doesn't
Donald
deserve
Trump.
to be there. Donald Trump.
Those are all
I'm
stupid.
in disagreement with that on Trump. I don't like Trump.
Literally should not be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
He funded 2 WrestleManias.
I don't care.
I think that's a big factor.
There would be no WrestleMania without Mr. T, Muhammad Ali, and
well, I agree.
My thing is, if we're gonna make a gripe over the celebrity wing, I feel like it's just
that's why I took care of them all at once and said any celebrity that isn't one of those 3.
But I'm saying it's a celebrity wing, it's dumb to
There should be no celebrity wing. It's the same argument of your argument that they need to put the Undertaker on Raw to get ratings.
I agree that there shouldn't be a celebrity wing, but saying those people shouldn't be in
they're worrying about.
Clearly they don't deserve to be in.
It's
but they're
another thing where they're worrying about stupid shit that they don't need to worry about.
That's like at the Hall of Fame every year. They should stop giving the Ultimate Warrior Award to people that overcame cancer. It's a nice story and it's publicity.
It's happened once.
But what? Okay, what I'm
saying.
But
then
is,
when else am I going to take a shit during the Hall of Fame?
What I'm saying is it should go to what Ultimate Warrior actually said it should go. Speaking of people that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame,
Ultimate Warrior.
I guess
he wasn't on my list, but I understand the argument.
I guess I can't take somebody out just for their beliefs. He never did anything. He never killed anybody. He never hurt anybody or anything like that.
I'm glad that he got some peace out of getting into the Hall of Fame right before he died.
Yeah,
I think he deserved to be in there too.
I think he deserved to be.
We said earlier, the whole argument of your popularity.
He was a racist, bigot, and homophobe and all this stuff. So I can understand.
He seems to have gotten over it, but again, Dan, we talked about this before the show. It's not the Good Person Hall of Fame.
No. And again,
it's
I said,
the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Like I said,
the WWE Hall of Fame.
I feel differently that for him because he never he went on rants and stuff about gay people, but he never went and killed somebody or hurt somebody or caused somebody to die or anything like that to a point where he just had beliefs that we didn't agree with that I don't necessarily think should kick him out of a Hall of Fame.
Okay, so then Dan, let's talk about people who you think should be kicked out of the Hall of Fame.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka, I think should have no business being in the Hall of Fame because I truly believe that he killed that girl in that hotel room.
Well, that's what you believe.
Yeah, and
just putting that out there. You're not.
And my number one gripe, and will always continue to be my gripe, and Matt's not going to agree with me because, like he said, it's a wrestling Hall of Fame. It's not a Good Person Hall of Fame. I think Fabulous Moolah for all the stuff that she did behind the scenes and all the stuff that the way she treated people in the business and everything, I think does not deserve any recognition. And honestly, every time they bring her name up on television with the women's division and everything, I want to vomit because.
But that's fine. But if she didn't exist, you wouldn't be watching women wrestling on Raw.
Okay, I understand that, but again, I don't think
there's a trade-off to that.
But she also, the stuff that she did was involved with the background of the business and the way she abused people and basically was sex trafficking them and all this stuff. I think that's part of the business, and I think it wasn't stuff that she did on her own time with other people. It's stuff that she did with people in the business and the way that she abused people in the business, and I don't think you should be honored for that. I'm sorry, that's just my personal.
Well, they didn't honor her for that. They honored her for a wrestling career.
Okay, you know what I meant. let's not nitpick here.
If we're gonna talk about questionable past, I think Sonny should be revoked from the Hall of Fame.
One of the notes that I put on the show notes that I sent to Steve was that we should bring up specifically people like Benoit and Vern Gagne and Jimmy
Those
Snuka.
two, yeah. But I think
Why
people
can't
who
Fabulous Moolah be included in that, though?
Because I just didn't even consider her in that conversation. She should be in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, at least with Snuka, there's questions of, okay, did he or did he
No,
not?
he 100% did it.
There's proof that Moolah literally abused wrestlers and did all this like shit and treated and
Snuka 100% killed somebody. I don't even consider that to be speculation.
See, I
at this
agree
point.
with you, but what I'm saying is he was never, all right, well.
Regardless.
Yeah.
back to my point, Sonny. I think if you go and you take your Hall of Fame position and you turn it into a way to market a porn tape, and you go and you sell your Hall of Fame ring.
Not the only person to sell their Hall of Fame.
No,
ring.
I understand that, but she sold it
not for what she did to Steve Carino, or not Carino,
Chris Candido.
Candido, excuse me.
I don't. I think there's multiple reasons that Sonny deserves to be revoked from the Hall of Fame.
I don't know. Whatever. So she used it to bank off popularity. It's not like people have never done that before. I don't know.
I think that because she's a woman, you're finding different faults with it because she hasn't done anything that other men have done with their Hall of Fame credential.
I mean, what did Paul Bearer's sons do? Like Paul Bearer's sons like went and sold his ring to try to get money and stuff.
That's a different situation in my. I mean, I'm
not
not talking.
I don't know if it is.
I'm not talking directly the
the
purpose of selling the ring. I mean, I can understand people fall on hard times, this and that, but
she's not the only person that has fallen on hard times after they've been put in the Hall of Fame and has tried to trade off of their name to try to get out of it. You're just taking fault because she's a woman.
No,
maybe they should have given her
sexist in this argument.
Maybe they should have given her a watch.
There is something inherently sexist about the.
I mean, I guess if you're making an argument that a woman doesn't deserve to be in there in any respect,
I'm not making that argument at all. But you're making the argument
no,
that you can't use her name in a pornographic film.
No, I'm saying you don't market yourself as a WWE Hall of Famer.
She's a WWE Hall of Famer.
But okay, so then you come back around and give me someone you don't think deserves to be
sure.
here.
My list only has bad wrestlers on it, not bad people.
That's fine.
Coco Beware. Why is he in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Character.
He hasn't done shit in wrestling.
That's about it, though. That's why he's in. This is his character.
I think it also goes to the fact that WWE likes to induct like 10 people at a time.
He was only an okay wrestler too.
And I think that there's a lot of people in there that just fill space because
I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in there that just fill space because they want to it seem like they've created so many popular people.
He's probably in there too because you think like if you go up to anybody who like knows like 80s wrestling and stuff, say like, oh, Coco Beware, they'll be like, oh, he was fun, to watch, all that stuff. His character was great. He's memorable. I think like we talked about earlier, like it comes down to like, yeah, it's guys that you pick just to fill space, but like he's memorable. That's probably why he's in there, and his character was well known and stuff like that. That's probably the only reason he's in there. Honestly, I don't know necessarily if he should be in there, but that's why he is.
Gross.
So Matt, who else do you have on your list? Why don't
Kevin
you just kind of
Nash.
like run them down?
Kevin Nash.
No, I disagree.
Never drew a dime in the business. If you gave him a pen and a sheet of paper, he still couldn't draw a dime.
Wasn't he the most profitable champion in
the WWF? He reigned over the company when they were in their worst period of profitability.
Okay, that's a decent argument.
It's not even a decent argument. It's truth.
No, I'm just saying that's a good argument on your point. But I don't know. I think Kevin Nash is
booked himself to become champion, then booked himself in the finger poke match to give it to his friend after that, when he was the booker of WCW. He has done nothing to give back to the business, and he's just a dick.
I don't know. I've met Kevin Nash.
He's a bad wrestler.
I don't know.
Made no money. Nobody has gotten over on their size more than Kevin Nash and nothing else.
So who else do you have on your list?
Rikishi. Terrible.
He's only in there because of his family
Of
lineage.
course he's only in there because of what his family is.
Didn't even like give
That's the
props
stepping
too
stone.
cool either.
That's the stepping stone to get
To
the Rock
what?
in there.
They were gonna get the Rock anyway. The
Who else?
Godfather.
But you don't want to come
Yeah,
and
the
get aboard the
Godfather.
Ho
The
train?
Godfather. I was kind of like, what the hell are they doing?
Shouldn't
here?
you have accomplished something in your career to be in the Hall of Fame?
Probably.
Besides having 5 gimmicks?
Didn't he have a championship at one time?
I'm sure he was.
I
a tag
think he was
champ or
hardcore
something.
champion. Champion at one
Intercontinental
point.
champion once.
I think he was
tag
European champion too.
So
These are all. It's all embarrassing.
in the
Every title that
'90s,
he
titles
held.
didn't really mean anything.
They still don't mean
Attitude-
anything.
In the,
Title.
in the Attitude Era, they didn't really mean anything.
I
You
mean,
don't
you're
mean
putting
anything
guys in there
now.
for less than that. Keep
That
going.
that was my list.
That's your
I
list?
gave you a whole bunch of names there.
I don't really know if I have any.
I put down 5
I
names.
mean, the Bushwhackers. I guess are they in?
Dan, your microphone, talking to it.
Sorry, the
I can name all-
Bushwhackers.
No, yes, they are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
they're in
well,
there.
there you go.
They shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Shouldn't
We
be.
already talked about that.
That's what I'm saying. Shouldn't be. They were.
You have
The
no
list
other
of
names?
people that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame is longer than the roster is now.
Can't disagree with
I don't
you.
really know if I like. I mean, I'd have to go through the entire list and like pick out people, like because it's trying to remember who's actually in and like did they.
Those were the names that popped out to me immediately when I looked at the list.
Oh yeah.
Every
Well,
celebrity and then the names there.
I mean-
yeah, I can't disagree with you. So then let's talk about one of the last topics we put on the format, the likes of Chris Benoit ever possibly making it into the Hall of Fame.
I didn't include him on my list of people that should be in the Hall of Fame because I know it's not going to happen, but he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Simply based on his wrestling career, because like you said, it's not the
Not
good person Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But it's also a lot of basically a PR stunt. I mean,
See-
it's not a real. I guess you can't really consider it a real Hall of Fame.
If
I don't know how to take that because I don't really. It's not like WWE has fucking Ted DiBiase going out to schools and glad.
That's very true. That's very
so it's
true.
not like they're like, oh, WWE Hall of Famer, Ted DiBiase was at the
If-
middle school today
if it was
baking
possible,
fucking cookies in home ec.
if it was possible to separate,
Coco Beware is at the bird sanctuary.
if it was possible to separate Benoit the wrestler from Benoit the person,
It is. I've done it.
I would 100% say yes, he needs to be in. But there's no way you can induct somebody who murdered their son, murdered their wife, and pretty much and killed himself. And also, if you look at it, really reflects the horrible side of the business because of all the concussions and stuff and what it did to his brain. I don't think there's any way.
question.
I don't think
Part of
there's
that
any way.
part of the things you just said are reasons why they can induct him in the business because the abuse on his body
They're not
and untreated mental illness that he had.
knowing.
Quick question.
Knowing the way
You wanna-
WWE
wait,
is with
wait,
public
wait,
relations
wait.
these days and things that they do specifically for PR. If they were to say
All
they
right.
were going to induct Chris Benoit into the Hall of Fame, it would be like it would
Alright,
kill them.
So hold on a second. We want to talk about the horrible tragedy that was the double murder suicide. When was Snuka inducted? Was it before or after there
was
was
after.
speculation of
well, there was always
him killing-
speculation. It happened in what, the 90s,
woman.
80s?
The murder that was in the 80s.
Yeah,
But
there was
was-
always speculation. He
was
did
it-
There was always speculation. Vince covered it up
went
in
to
the
bat.
80s.
Vince went to
Okay.
bat and said that he didn't
So
know how to
then-
speak English and
so
basically went to
Covered
bat
it up.
for him. Yeah.
So then, if they can induct Snuka, why couldn't they induct?
Because
Benoit?
everybody forgot about that one because
Because-
that wasn't during the media age.
Because
Yeah,
number
I
one,
guess
he
that makes
didn't.
sense.
He didn't kill his wife and kid.
he killed his girlfriend.
Number two, there was enough questions
It's not
about
like
it.
Snuka picked some random woman. This is somebody that he knew.
There was enough.
Around.
There was enough questions about it. Whether or not, like me and Matt, definitely believe he did it. But there was enough questions and not enough evidence to prove 100% that yes, he did it. That you could go that probably in a court of law say yes, he did it. Okay. And number three, this was also, they've also gone through the ringer with that. We know 100% Benoit did it. There's no way around it. And we know what caused it and why he did it and things like that. There's no way around it. There's no way to say that this is why Snuka did it or that he 100% did it. You cannot prove
I
that.
think it's a difficult assertion to make, though, that people can't separate who he was as a person, who he was as a wrestler.
I just think.
I don't know, I think
I
with
just think
time-
you
Especially
can't-
when
you
everybody
can't-
says that this is an isolated incident and he never acted that way before.
I just don't think you
I
can
think
put a
it's still
child
too-
murderer into
I think
a Hall of
it's,
Fame.
Kind of agree with you there.
He killed a child. Like, had he maybe if he like this sounds awful to even consider.
So wait, let
I'm
me
saying,
ask
like,
you
had
this
he just
question,
killed
then.
his wife and himself and left his son? Okay, maybe you can consider it down the road. But he killed a kid.
Okay, so let me ask you
Like,
this question.
I'm sorry.
I
A kid with a
understand-
disability too.
okay,
I
so
can't-
look,
I don't put value on murder and say that one person's life is worth another.
I'm
more
not
than
saying.
another's.
I'm
Wait,
not
wait,
saying
let me-
that.
let me-
I'm not saying that.
let
but
me
I'm
make a
saying
point real quick.
The fact that he killed a child automatically rules him out. I think. in my
Let me
opinion.
make a point real quick. So what if we, down the line, 10 years from now, we discover so much more about concussions. We understand, all the effects they give
We
they
already
make on the
have
brain.
since then.
Well, I'm just saying
It's already been 10 years
I'm saying
since
what
this-
we've
since that
seen,
happened.
what we've
Almost 10
seen
years.
come to light since, and what we could see come to light in the distant future. Let's say we see that, and then people come to terms with, okay, so this was something that happened because of his mental well-being and his
We know it
risk-
happened because we already know that though.
Will you let me make my point?
Okay.
I think that what he's trying to say is that if we can
If
medical
disassociate it,
science creates more of a definitive proof that that's what happened, can then you, as being you, separate it? Where other people can't, where
No.
you
Could you
can't
see-
now.
No, I can't.
I mean,
No, because that argument's already been made
I'm-
6 million times.
I'm looking
I
at
just
this
find
as
that to be a difficult thing to understand because there's a fucking million scumbags in the wrestling business, but that one thing is the one thing.
I'm
you
looking
can't
at this as somebody who's dealt with mental health issues, and if it can be put more to a medical science that his snap was as attributed to his concussions that you believe it was.
It's already been.
It's
But
not
that's already been done. They already know that he had the brain of a 85-year-old man with dementia.
Okay, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't cause you to snap in an instant and kill your entire family.
He didn't snap.
There's
It wasn't
been-
a snap.
There's been a lot of conjecture back and forth because Jericho did that podcast with Nancy's sister, where
And Chavo and everybody.
She said that there was a pattern of changes in behavior.
wasn't a snap.
over a long
It didn't
period
just
of time,
happen out of
where he
nowhere.
became a different person over several years, and nobody did anything about it.
It never just happened. This was number one. He was depressed over Benoit or the Eddie, and then that led to all the all the concussions and everything over time. And he was having marital problems with Nancy and things like that. Like, these are all things that led up to it. There was no
So
just
then-
snap and he went and killed
Okay,
him.
so let me ask you a question then. Do you see them ever doing possibly an induction into the Hall of Fame of Nancy Benoit?
No.
No, because there'd be no reason to do it.
I don't necessarily agree with that,
Nope.
but
Why
don't
would
see
you
it.
put her in?
because I guess you can make the same argument as you make with Elizabeth in that respect. Because, I mean,
I know they don't have the same look at it that I do. They don't
Agreed.
consider it to be just a wrestling Hall of Fame either. But I do. I just look at your contribution to the wrestling business when I look at whether you should be in the Hall of Fame or not.
It's just I don't understand how you could ever in a especially in a world now where WWE is more worried about public relations and things like that. I don't understand how they could ever say we're going to induct Chris Benoit. And
I think
They
that's right now
do you
where I
remember-
have to
do-
agree with you.
do you
Because
remember-
they are a publicly
do you-
traded company.
do you remember-
I don't see them putting a
do
child
you remember how
murderer into
bad
the Hall of Fame.
You remember how bad the light was the company was in after that happened, and how they were everywhere and in the news everywhere, and all these wrestlers had to come out and speak out against it, against the media and everything. It's going to be that times 10 if they try to honor him and give somebody and who accepts that?
I don't think
Who accepts that?
I think there would be
Jericho?
more than enough guys to accept that honor for
I think
Benoit
that-
Who
if that
steps-
were to be given.
Who steps up to the plate and says, "Okay, I'm willing to put my career and
Chavo
everything."
Guerrero, who's already done it.
amongst wrestlers,
Chris Jericho, who's
it'd
already
be
done it.
very well. Wrestlers would accept
But my
it.
thing is a wrestler going to accept it for him, or is a family member going to accept it for him?
I think his remaining
His
children would
remaining
accept
children.
it for him.
I don't know.
It's not like they went out
I
and
don't-
changed their
I don't
name
know.
after everything
I don't know.
happened.
I think Bret Hart would accept it for him.
And my thing is, how do you have?
Shit, isn't his surviving son? Isn't he training to become a wrestler?
And here's
I don't
my
know
thing. And
off the top of my head.
I think I read that somewhere at one point.
I saw that a few years
Hell,
ago.
I
don't
think
know.
Chris Nowitzki would accept it for him.
And you'd have people. See, my thing is, you'd have people willing to induct him, like Jericho, Chavo, whoever would be willing to induct him. But I can't see. I can't see it going over.
A large populace of wrestling fans that can make the separation.
I think there's a lot.
I can make.
I think a lot of fans will also show up just to protest, though.
I look at it. I
think it would be an absolute disaster.
So final thought on this. I look at it in both lights. I can see it from Matt's point, and I can see it from your point, Dan. I can see it from Matt's point in wrestling terms alone. Benoit should be put in the Hall of Fame. But I could see it from your point that as a publicly traded company, inducting a child murderer, honoring a man who murdered his child, will not go over. So it's still one of those things that's so up in the air.
Great wrestler, but you can't honor somebody like that. I'm sorry, you can't do it. It's like in the NFL. Like you can't.
Let's not even get started with the NFL.
I just more want to do a character profile on Dan now.
Why?
Where you can make separation for some other guys that have done really shitty things.
Like who?
Not for
who did I make separation for?
Fucking Eddie Guerrero, for one.
He never killed anybody.
He's a drug addict. He fucked around on his wife.
Okay, drug addict and murdering somebody are two way different things.
Your line is murder. If somebody murdered somebody, they can't be in a Hall of Fame.
No, my line is not murder. But you're comparing Eddie Guerrero, who was a drug addict and cheated on his wife.
No, I'm not comparing Eddie Guerrero
Benoit.
directly. I'm using him as an example that there are other people, and he made sense as an example because he was Benoit's best friend. But
listen to me. He was a drug addict, yes, and cheated on his wife. However, he made up for that. I don't know why you're
listen to me where you're going to convince me differently about anything. I'm telling you that there's other pieces of shit in the WWE Hall of Fame.
I understand there's other pieces of shit in the Hall of Fame. It's like Ray Lewis. I don't think Ray Lewis should ever get in the fucking Hall of Fame in the NFL either. Of course he should.
I hate him as a player.
No, he should not.
But he was a great player.
No, he should not.
All right, this is a completely different show now. So we're going to end this episode here. Stop talking. Jesus.
Our next episode can be a character thing on me if you really want to.
Our next episode won't even have you on it, so stop talking.
Why?
Because the next episode, which if you let me close the episode out, Jesus, will feature most likely Art Miles and Greg Moan of the Gods and Monsters podcast.
Oh.
I will be joining them. You'll be hearing this on Friday the 13th. I'll be recording their podcast on Friday the 13th. And
so it's going to go horribly.
It might. And then that should probably go up the following Monday. So
I can separate Friday the 13th the day from Friday the 13th the movie.
But yes, I will be a guest on the Gods and Monsters podcast. You can find that. We'll put a link to that in the show notes, so you can find that when the time comes. And then they will reciprocate.
Steve,
and
if anybody asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
No, I'm a monster.
No, you're not. Nope, sure didn't.
What? Okay, you guys are starting to go on these.
It was a Ghostbusters reference, for God's sakes. It wasn't like it's some obscure thing that you'd never understand.
I wasn't, quoting Citizen Kane.
All right, let's wrap this shit up now. But made me mad.
Okay, so listen for the Gods and Monsters podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Of course, you can find links to those over on deep6podcast.com. Listen for the Deep Sports Podcast with Matt, myself, and
guest co-host next week or next
that was the week before. So
yeah, tomorrow from today.
No, Kyle should be back for the next show that they're going to hear after this.
Yes, but for when we're recording, it's a guest host. So we're
the last episode that you've already heard.
We're in a confusing twilight zone right now.
But yeah, just keep an eye out for everything Deep Six Podcast. Of course, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Podbean. And find everything else over on deep6podcast.com. Until next time, we'll see you later.